Hello, gorgeous. Today we are speaking about unlocking the key to a conscious relationship and what you need to know. Welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here, welcome. My name is Jessica Angelari. I'm a feminine embodiment coach, and I love guiding women back into their bodies to create this new, deep, loving relationship with themselves. So I wanted to explore this conscious relationship and the difference between a conscious relationship and a perfect relationship. Or does a perfect relationship even exist? Is there a difference? With social media, I do find that it is easy to watch photos of couples assuming that they have it all figured out and that it is always so perfect, right? Now, let me tell you straight out, honestly, there is no such thing as a perfect relationship. Now, I have dated a lot. So this is coming from my own experience. I've also been through a few different long-term relationships. I'm now with my beloved, my beautiful man. We've been together for years now, and I even moved countries to come and allow this relationship to blossom, and it really has. The thing is, through every relationship, I was able to learn something from them. And the thing that really stood out for me when I reflect on them was, although I didn't know at the time, was I was seeking something that didn't really exist. Maybe a perfect relationship or a perfect partner, and I was really seeking love outside of me. It's so important to not confuse the idea of a conscious relationship with the perfect one. There is no such thing. So I was seeking something that didn't even really exist. How can there be when perfection doesn't even exist? There is no perfection. The perfection exists within our hearts. The thing is, when we are striving for something more perfect, we often haven't realized this inner bliss within ourselves, this love and this goodness. It's right here. Enough is right here. So when we're seeking for more, perhaps we haven't completely found that fulfillment within ourselves. It could be something so small. Of course, this is not to say that we accept bad behavior, toxic behavior, manipulation, none of that. Of course not. This is unacceptable in my eyes. That's the thing. It's unacceptable. But when we see the enoughness in ourselves, we start to attract someone else who really is anchored in their own enoughness. We attract this same quality in another, and someone who is also drawn to your maturity, to your enoughness, to you knowing your own worth. So the dynamics start to change. So if you're wanting to manifest a conscious relationship, or you're wondering what a conscious relationship is, it really is two people consciously committing, they're consciously devoting themselves to this pathway of growth alongside each other. And that's the thing, relationships are about growth, movement, fluidity. This is the feminine and the masculine intertwining with one another. And this is where we come into this sacred union, where we discover the fullness of life together. We play with life together. And we also are on this journey of evolution as individuals and together. So the question is this something that you're already doing in your own life? Are you feeling the fullness of life and pleasures and the goodness of life right here, right now, regardless if you're in a relationship or not? When you do, you start to really feel this when we are in a relationship, because you've already started to acknowledge this within yourself. You're connecting with this love, with this bliss, with this goodness within yourself, that now you're opening up and giving yourself permission to now experience this with another as well. So a conscious relationship allows for that to happen. It's a safe space. And I believe it's also the highest form of practicing consciousness. It's the highest form, I believe, in my experience, of spiritual awakening as well. Because when you have two people in the mix, It takes another level of commitment to one another, a commitment to show up in the qualities of love, of empathy, compassion, devotion, forgiveness, discernment. And if we're afraid of this kind of what I call intimacy, and the commitment is not there, it's hard for the relationship to fully withstand the challenges when they do show up, because this kind of relationship is built on the foundation of love, of in that anchor of worthiness from the space of knowing yourself truly. So is it their job to make you happy? The most important thing here is to, instead of striving for perfection, we can start to know ourselves, love ourselves, and start taking responsibility for our own feelings. So when we do go into a relationship, we're not relying only on another to do that for us, because we know how to be our own source of love, our own beloved. We know how to self-soothe. We know what our triggers are. We know what we need to feel nourished and to feel safe. Yes, if there are two people involved in this union, it takes two people to create this sort of safety. And therefore, the other person has the responsibility to ensure that your needs are met. Yes, but to a certain degree. It's never black or white. Relationships are not black and white. Just like life is not black and white. Healing is not black and white. Relationships are not, it's not a linear thing. It works in spirals. In the past, I was putting all of my own cards, all of my hopes and expectations into this person. And I really did believe it was all up to them to make me completely happy. This wasn't healthy. And I can accept this about myself. And it's what I have wholeheartedly been devoted to working on. And I know that I'm in a good place now because my relationship dynamic has completely changed now. Sure, there were times where I was being gaslit in my relationships in the past. I was disregarded, patronized, put down, wasn't taken seriously. But you know why? Because I wasn't taking my own heart seriously, like fully. I was still acting from that immaturity. I was still acting from my reactive state. And I was still wearing a mask in the beginning of the relationships anyway, that I had it all together, but really I was just looking for someone to deeply love me. And the true source of this love had to come from me first. And I'm not saying as well that the way that they treated me was my fault or anything like that. No, but I didn't know my worth to really express what was happening maturely and that it was not okay for me, or even to just walk away at the time. So I was still coming from this immature, wounded space, like a little girl being really reactive. The truth is, for some of us, maybe most of us, we don't have a healthy love modeled to us. And so it can be challenging to know what's realistic when it comes to our own expectations and our own desires and our own needs. But you always know when you start to do this work on yourself and you start to return home into your heart and even into your womb space, you start to really claim that and you listen to that wisdom and that truth and you claim it and you stay in integrity of that. So it's about knowing yourself deeply. And this is what I love helping women with. It has to start with you in a body felt sense first. It's knowing your standards and what feels okay for you, what doesn't feel okay for you, and only you know. And then when you know that, it's you really standing in sovereignty of that, and you lead the energy of the relationship. So you come and you stand on your inner throne that isn't playing from the space of the ego or the mind, but right here in the heart. So what does a healthy relationship look like? Even when both entities are doing the work to grow, it will not always be sunshine and roses. I think we have this false idea that it's supposed to be like that all the time. And maybe we have this idea that this relationship, once we go into it, it will just magically transform our life. It can definitely assist you in the process of growth and transformation. It adds to your life. Definitely. It adds more fun, adventure, and love and happiness to your life. But if you see the word add, right, it's adding to what is already there. Just like your seeds in the garden are already planted. They're already planted within your womb space. But then you have this other person who is here to help you grow this into more love, more beauty, and for these flowers to grow so abundantly, but we grow together. So I believe that this is the beauty of two entities. The force is stronger, the growth is stronger, but only if there is a commitment between the two, a devotion equally. When you go into the relationship, your shadows will come with you. All of your fears, your insecurities, your wounds, your triggers, they will come with you. They don't just disappear in the relationship, even especially if you've been doing some work already. In fact, they can be amplified because now we have someone else in the entity here. Until you both find your flow, you might hit some bumps and rocks. Definitely, especially in the beginning. Because the honeymoon phase that we know of it ends. Not because there's something wrong with the relationship, but because at a certain point, a relationship will rely on vulnerability, and this is how intimacy is built. So what really breathes love into the relationship is when you're both willing to change and grow, evolve as an individual, but also together. What changes is the willingness to both show up fully, to accept faults, to accept when you're being reactive versus responsive, to accept where you're playing from your insecurities. And you know what? If it does, it's okay. It happens. So when you're in the relationship, yes, you will still have days when you feel down, where you will feel misunderstood, where you will feel upset or angry. They are still going to happen, even in this conscious, healthy relationship that I'm speaking about. But it happens much less frequently as the relationship starts to build its flow, its anchor, its strength, its foundation. And you both come into this beautiful fluid dance with one another. So it is this anchor, the soils, right? The foundation of safety built on trust and openness and connection that really allows the relationship to blossom. It isn't about how many date nights you have that's going to change the relationship or to make it a solid one. Sure, date nights are beautiful. Who doesn't love date nights? They're fun. But what really creates this blossoming of the relationship is really in those moments when your hearts are fully invested and fully in. It's when you have an argument or a fight, and then what happens after the disagreement, and not running away or pretending everything is okay. In my personal experience, usually relationships become stuck or toxic is because one or both are not willing to dig into the darkness of their own triggers. They are stuck in their own patterns, their old wounds, their ego. So it's the willingness that is key. This is what you need to look out for. When we're getting, and you can even see this in the beginning of the relationship. when we're getting stuck in our triggers, we end up pointing fingers and not taking accountability. So we're not self-reflecting. And this then builds up. And this is how we then feel resentment or we feel anger, and we don't even know why. And we start being reactive to things when the underlying root hasn't been tended to. And that's because the truth of the matter of the heart, is not tended to. So relationships that are romantic and conscious are not an endless stream of honeymoon phases of romance and heightened levels of passion all the time. This kind of relationship will have joy, but this is not everything in this relationship. It's one part of it. It's one part of a conscious, healthy relationship. When we go into a relationship or we're seeking one where there is an endless amount of love and lust and passion and entertainment, we are seeking and chasing something that may not be realistic. It may not be sustainable. When you're in a conscious relationship, there is a mix of, I like to say, a beautiful mess, because they're not perfect. And they are not also full of highs. And they're not full of lust and passion, but it's not filled with drama either. And that's something that I was always attracting, was the drama, because I wasn't anchored in my own true self-worth. So a conscious relationship consists of willingness, as I said, on both ends. They're not subject to blaming one another. Instead, they are supportive. You know you're safe to be all of you. You know you're not going to be shamed for your moods or your emotions, for your truth, for expressing your needs. You know you're going to be supported. They are this safe container that both people, entities create in order for them to feel and go deeper into their own vulnerabilities, and where they know they won't be judged, or they know that their own vulnerabilities won't be used against one another. Instead, there is a desire to know one another, to know, how can I give this to you? How can I support you in this? There's a desire to know each other's wounds and not be afraid of that. And there's a discussion around, how can I support you? What do you need from me? What can I do to make life easier for you? There isn't a sense of victim of hopelessness, but a willingness to understand and appreciate where these wounds may have originated from. And it's something we can both navigate through together. I think that's such a beautiful place to be in. It feels soothing, it feels soulful, wholesome, safe, real, vulnerable. And there's such a strength in this, built on solid grounds. It's unshakable, where both parties are seen and heard and respected and loved and desired. And we don't hide this kind of love either. So cultivating a conscious relationship is a choice. It's both showing up fully for ourselves, for one another, and the relationship. It's about choosing ourselves over and over again. Most of my healing takes place in relationships, whether they're toxic or not. When they have been toxic, I've built so much resilience, and I've realized more of my own love and strength. So it's about knowing how to hold yourself accountable and feel safe enough to be vulnerable with all that you feel. So we can really start doing this on our own. In this way, you become your own source of wholeness, and we don't project all of our stuff and triggers onto the other, making the other carry all of our weight. Sure, this doesn't mean that they haven't hurt us if they have, but we carry the weight together. We're in this together. How can I be there for you? It's about me, it's about you, it's about us. So no, there isn't any relationship that isn't going to go into spaces where they never fight. Remember what I said, what happens after the fight is everything. Everything flows, it moves in and out of attunement. Most of the time, a healthy relationship is in harmony and these people we're in sync, but it's completely natural as well to go into phases when you're not in sync, or if there's tension or hurt. But what happens after is the biggest key here to cultivating this relationship. Choosing to show up for one another, choosing to get past the ego and being there for one another. How you navigate through things alone and together is key. And this is what defines the energy, if it will continue to grow or grow apart. And as I always say, as a woman, it has to start with us. We are the key holders of love, the portals of love. We are the gatekeepers to this feeling of energy and movement and emotions and sensual aliveness, to love. This is what the feminine is about. We have to also start practicing receiving so we can receive him effortlessly and not feel ashamed for that. But you have to know yourself, and knowing yourself is about tending to your heart, tending to your womb space, self-regulating your nervous system, building the anchor in your root. And this is what I'm here to support you in. When you know this, you always use your life force, your creative energy in ways to then manifest and draw in and receive someone who is a beautiful vibrational match for you. In Feminine Remembrance, we walk together in a 10-week group temple where you're supported in this journey of connecting with your heart, your soul and womb, and your sacred sexuality, to awaken to your deep truth, to return to your own intimacy, to know yourself in intimate ways. It starts with you, sister, and I'm here to hold your hand in that. Because when you cultivate a loving, deep connection with yourself, you don't just do it for you. Your relationships with others, especially your beloved, become so much more enriched, fruitful, enlivened, more mature as well. And it can take you into so many different spaces. Even your intimate life becomes more expansive. So if you'd love to know more about Feminine Remembrance, I'll drop the link below and I'll leave you there. I hope this resonated with you and it inspired you. My name is Jessica Angeleri. Do let me know in the comments below what you loved about this video. I'd love to hear about that. And if you liked it, make sure to like this and to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, so you can stay tuned for more of these delicious, beautiful, juicy episodes that I love to share with you. All right, my love, I'll leave you there and I'll see you again soon. Bye, gorgeous. Mwah.